All right, we are live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Today is indeed very special for two big reasons. One is today concludes the virtual career guidance fair series. It has been a wonderful journey in the past 1 week with several experts sharing about how students can shape their future themselves, take charge of the initiatives themselves, and also contribute to the larger good of a sustainable society. I am Nishita Mehta. I work at AFS as Programs Manager, and today uh, I will be speaking only in the start part of the session. But what makes it also special is we have on the panel alumni of AFS India who have done certain career choices. They would be talking more about it, and also those career choices have really transformed not only their lives but has touched thousands of other lives. I would now request next my friend and colleague Adil to introduce himself and also share a little bit about AFS India as an organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nishita. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Adil, and it is safe to say that a majority of us who are on the call right now are AFS alumni. And I'm really, really happy to be here as well. And I went on program many years ago to US, and I was staying in a family of 5. I had a wonderful experience. And since I came back, I have been working with AFS for let's say 2008, and right now I'm taking care of marketing and development. And we're really happy that many students have joined us for the virtual career guidance fair, and this marks as the end of the program, and we hope that it will be a learning experience from all the students who have joined us. And I really appreciate all the alumni taking out time to share their learnings as well. Quickly, I would also introduce AFS India as an organization. When we talk about AFS India, it's a big family, but it is an educational organization. It's a non-for-profit educational organization, and our aim is to create a just and peaceful world. And how do we do that? There are a lot of different ways we do it. We send students abroad on exchange programs, like the way we have alumni right here, who went on program and who were hosted in a different country, and they had a wonderful experience. They went to school, they learned a lot about culture. So that's one of the ways we create global citizens as well. Other than that, we do host students from different parts of the world in India as well. So a student coming from Italy, or someone who is coming from Germany, or any parts of the world, they can come here, and you can also become a host family. Apart from that, we work a lot with schools to do webinars, training. We provide a lot of educational courses, which you might be hearing from the speakers as well during the webinar today. And also, finally, the most important, AFS India is a volunteer-based organization. So anyone who goes on the program, they come back and they start their journey as a volunteer as well. And we have a lot of volunteers working in different cities, and they are engaged in a lot of change-making activities as well. So we are very happy and proud to say that it is a volunteer-based organization. So throughout the webinar, if you have any question related to the programs, if you have any question related to the journey of the panelists, how they reached where they are, please do ask. And if you have any question related to AFS specific, do write it in the question and answer box or in the chat. Nishita and I will be happy to answer those queries as well.
Thank you, Adil. We also have my friend and colleague from staff side, Sonam, here. Sonam, your introduction, please.
Thank you, Nishita. Good evening, everyone. It is lovely to meet all of you. And thank you for taking out time and sharing your lovely experiences that you have gained. And I hope the audience, the participants, make the best use of it. And please ask questions if you have any. The chat box is there. So thank you so much and wish you all the very best. Over to you,
Thank
Nishita.
Thank you. We have all been waiting for the kickstart and the introduction of the panel. So I will start doing that right away. But in the meantime, like I said, do use the question answer feature, the chat feature. We will be manning the chat. We will be collating all the questions and putting those questions forth to the panelists towards the end of the session. The panel discussion would be moderated, and if there's any technical snag that anyone faces, just rejoin or type to us on the chat, and we will try to help you out as much as best as we can. So, formally beginning with the introduction of the panel that we have, it is a great delight for me to introduce another friend of mine, Najmu. Najmu has been a friend since many years, including a very nice tenure together on the board of AFS India that Najmu and I share. But that's not just it. He is also the former board of trustees of AFS Intercultural Programs internationally, an expert trainer on intercultural learning at AFS. He also holds the position of senior product manager at Clipboard Health and a no-code instructor at Bubble. He has mentored and coached several young minds for their startup initiatives, has successfully implemented large-scale social projects as well. And of course, he's going to talk more about them on the session. But Najmu, welcome to the panel today. Deepak would be moderating the questions, but if you can just wave and say hi, that would be nice.
Hello, everyone.
Najmu, can you wave to everyone as well?
Can't hear you, Nishita.
Oh my gosh. Am I audible now?
Najmu, can you hear me? We can hear Nishita. Najmu?
Okay, I will move on to introducing the next panel while I request Adil to connect with Najmu on the technical aspect.
Okay, I can hear now.
Okay, perfect. So Najmu, I requested if you can wave and say a hi to everyone present here.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good to be here.
Thank you. I continue, and the next is also a very young fellow that I have had the opportunity to work with on several projects. Wasudev Mishra. He is the co-founder of Silaigram, which is a social entrepreneurship initiative. And he will talk more about what it is. But I want to especially highlight the millions of lives he has touched during lockdown through another initiative that he ran with a team of his and help the migrant workers get a lot of relief during the difficult period. He will be, of course, talking more about it. Vasudev is also an Ashoka Young Changemaker, and of course carefully selected after a very vigorous process. So he has done a lot of projects to be on a change making mission. So welcome, Vasudev. If you can quickly wave and say a hi to everyone.
Hi, thank you.
Okay, over to you, Adil.
Thank you so much, Nishita. I'm really happy to introduce Niyati. Niyati recently did an internship with AFS India, and we were happy to have her in our office. We did engage a lot on virtual platform, but we really had fun time, going through all the different contents we created, focusing on global citizenship or intercultural learning. But that's not the background. I was excited to share that because we worked very close on different campaigns for AFS India. But Niyati is one of the change makers like Najmu and Vasudev and Deepak as well. She is the founder and executive director of Prati-Sandhi Foundation. It's an NGO which is dedicated to the sexual health and education of Indian adolescents and youth. And her team has been working really hard to impact over 10,000 individuals and more through direct and indirect intervention. And her work has been covered by several media platforms as well. She is a change maker and a global citizen. And the work she has been doing, she has been reaching out to many people, teaching them about the different taboos as well and how to overcome those as well. Currently, she's a second year undergraduate student at the University of British Columbia, Vancouver. And what she aims and aspires is to talk about sexual health, talk about how we can focus on changing the dynamics in India and making it creating a positive difference overall wherever she can. So thank you so much, Niyati, for joining. If you could say hello and shake your hand, that would be wonderful.
Thank you so much. That was a great introduction. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you for joining. And finally, our dear Deepak, thank you so much for agreeing to be the moderator of this call. We are really happy that you took our time to join us and grill these three and ask them the right questions so that, they can help the other young change makers as well, and they can have a learning experience overall. Deepak has a master's in business law from School of Law, DAVV Indore, and he has been practicing at Indore High Court under a senior advocate. And he is a author, and his book that he has written recently, it's called The Wilting Leaves. So I would encourage the readers to Google it, go through it, and reach out to Deepak if you want any ideas related to, writing books or, anything related to law as well. So thank you, Deepak, for joining. If you could say hello, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Adil. Hi, everyone.
Thank you. Back at you, Nishita.
Actually, Deepak, continue staying unmuted because now you have to take the reins. So the platform is all yours. I will be on mute and close my camera as well.
Thank you so much, Nishita. Thank you, Adil. So without wasting much time, I would start with our discussion, and I'll start throwing questions on all three of our panelists. And my first question to you, Najmu. Najmu, could you please tell our young minds that, what kind of life and career choices that led you to where you are? And how can our young friends, be motivated and feel happy about the career choices before they are 30?
I don't know if that number was anonymously chosen because yesterday I turned 30, but I can go ahead and answer your question. So it's going to be very long if I just go about like all my life and career choices, but let me just pinpoint what my career progression in general has been. Uh, I I did schooling as everyone in an English medium school, and then as not like everyone. So as all AFSers, I was on an exchange program to the US. I was in Alabama. And then after doing the exchange program, although a lot of people were like, why are you going to another country and wasting 1 year of your life? Which is always asked to every AFSer. The only thing is that it doesn't show up right away, the change that it happens. But I think, yeah, Deepak, that's a good goal. Like once you're 30 and you start looking back at your life and you look at that one exchange year, you're like, okay, that actually created a lot of difference in how I think about myself, how I thought about my career choices, how I thought about what I want to study, and how I thought about how I want to mingle with people. And that changes a lot. And I'll come back to that. But so I did engineering. I did not do engineering because everyone wanted me to do engineering. Luckily, my parents also didn't push me too much. They did push me a little, but not too much for engineering. But I wanted to do it because I was interested in science. I was interested in engineering. And then I did an MBA in innovation and innovation and entrepreneurship. And then I got into product management, was doing edtech product, education technology product management, then was part of corporate for 6 months, didn't like the work culture there, switched. Again, started at a startup from scratch, built a whole product. The product was acquired by a foundation in the next 2 years. And then I switched to another startup, which is in the Silicon Valley right now, which is Clipboard Health. But what is important to note is that this sounds like a very general career progression. Someone like doing engineering, doing an MBA, and then getting into corporate or startups. But what actually makes a difference and what actually helps you properly stand out when you're making these career choices is not really the choice that you made. It's what you do after you make the choice. So when you get into an engineering college, everyone's there. But what else are you doing in that engineering college that sets you apart from everyone, right? Like I was doing projects like I built a home automation system which went to the National Research Development Corporation's exhibition. I was doing some other app development projects and involved in various other things, and of course was also an AFS volunteer uh, at that time as well. And then even when I went to my MBA, I didn't do a general MBA. I did an innovation entrepreneurship MBA. Again, what matters is why you're making that choice as well. Like I did not do an MBA because everyone else was doing it, but I did an MBA because it was an innovation entrepreneurship MBA that I was interested in. If it wasn't innovation, I wouldn't have done an MBA. And so while I'm doing that, even in college, while I was in MBA college, I actually didn't go to college for 6 months, my last semester, because I was running my own startup at that point of time. And that gave me a lot of learning. And then I got into product management and various other things. And then even now, like I switched from corporate to a startup because I felt like I wasn't learning and I wasn't doing what I wanted to do after I made this choice. So the thing is, it doesn't matter. Like so you will have 100 choices in front of you, and you'll make one. Right? Don't stress about what choice you're making. But once you've made the choice, what are you going to do after that? Right? That really, really matters. And also, when you're making a choice, don't make the choice because the whole herd is making that choice. But think about, is this something I'm interested in? Sometimes I have met people who don't have like a passion for anything. Like I like everything or I don't like anything, which is fine because when you're at an age when you're exploring things, you can't say that I love education technology or I love entrepreneurship because you have never done it. So what I'd recommend people is that even when you don't know what choice to make, forget it. Do something, don't like it, quit it in a month. That's fine. It doesn't waste your life. What you learn from even 1 month of doing something is very important. And also if you want to learn something, do it. Like even if you don't like it, just do it. You'll learn something from it. Quit, do something else. And of course, your life is pretty long. Like when someone comes and says that you're going to waste your life if you do this, or you're going to waste 6 months of your life if you do that other thing that you're not supposed to do, doesn't matter. Because what will happen is that 6 months that you spent that no one else spent is going to be the one thing that sets you apart from everyone else. So I think while I'm 30 since yesterday, this is what makes me not regret my choices, because I know that everything that I did gave me some amount of life. Like even the job that I did for 6 months that I did not like, that also made me learn a lot about that whole sector, that whole industry, and the whole job role itself that I can still talk about. So I think, yeah, that's pretty much my life story. It was pretty abstract, but I don't know if that's any way helpful.
Thank you so much, Najmu. These were like some really, really helpful and really good, insights. And I mean, yes, I agree that it's not just about the choices that we make, but yeah, the choices, what we do with those choices is more important, right?
Yeah.
So basically, yeah,
And
it's
one thing
like,
I'll also add here is, I think, which I said I was going to come back to, which is why AFS was not a experience that is going to be a waste of 1 year, right? Because I went on an AFS program, I learned how to deal with situations, how to deal with people that I don't know about, that I am uncomfortable with. It was a completely strange place, a new family, a new place, a new school. I have no clue how to handle myself because I'm out of the home for the first time. And this is probably the first time that anyone goes out of the house. And this experience teaches you how to deal with people. And quite frankly, if all the people listening, if someone's telling you that whatever you learn in university or whatever you learn in college is going to be what you're going to do at your job, it's about 5% true. So what you actually do at your job is mostly 80% of your job is going to be talking to people and convincing them. 20% of your job is actually going to be technical. Even if you're an engineer, 80% of your job is going to be, understanding the specifications of the code, understanding what product I'm building, trying to talk to people and trying to understand what they want, what their requirements are. So all of that. So 80% of that is actually that. And your 20% of the job, once you absorb all of that understanding, you actually write code and deliver it. And even after delivery, you have to make sure you talk to people, give it to them, make sure it goes to the market in the right way, people understand it. So 80% is communication. Even when you are like a very, very technical engineer, probably working at ISRO. So that's why AFS and all those learnings where you do while communicating to people really helps. Sorry for making it long, but I think that perspective was important.
No, that was really helpful, Najmu, and I think all of us on the panel would agree to this because all of us have been at some point of time, been on an exchange, and we are all alumni. So yes, we do agree with you. Thank you so much, Najmu. My next question is from Niyati. Niyati, could you please tell us that, how did you apply for colleges abroad, and, what helped you to actually survive your studies abroad? And we would also, want to know that, when and how did you start with Prati-Sandhi Foundation? Was it during the college days?
All right, awesome. So I'm going to answer that in two parts. I think I'll first start with the college journey.
Sure.
So I think one thing that's really important to keep in mind when you're applying abroad is that you need to be intentional. I don't think, I'm not going to lie to anyone, college outside is really expensive. Applying to college outside is a very, very expensive process. Just giving exams like SATs costs like $10,000. Applying to colleges costs $7,000 just sending an application. So you need to be intentional. It's not like you can fill in 50 applications and hope for the best. So, I think it's really, really important to keep that in mind. And the second thing is that it requires a lot of active reflection. A huge chunk of the component for applying to colleges abroad is going to be essays. And they're going to be essays that ask you what you're passionate about. They're going to be essays that ask you, why do you want to go to this college? Why are you interested in this program? Is there a specific professor you like? And they'll also be really abstract questions like, write a letter to your future roommate. Okay, and that is your chance to show those colleges your personality, who you are, where you're coming from. And when filling an application, it seems so weird that, you could judge my application on the basis of what I would say to my future roommate, but they can gauge a lot from that. So, it requires a lot of reflection. And so I think for that to happen, it's very important to start early. If you suddenly start writing these long essays that require you to kind of reflect on everything you've accumulated and learned throughout your life, experiences from childhood, something that has deeply impacted you, it takes time to think those things through, because we don't all just kind of sit around and think about these things like, let me think what impacted me. If somebody asks me to write an essay about, say, my exchange program, it's going to take me time to sort of think back, reflect, hey, this was an experience. This is where I learned that, because this is all not binary. It just kind of comes together to shape you. So I think starting early is really important. And I think that active reflection and starting early really very important. And like I started, intentionality. Why are you applying to where you're applying? What is your goal? What is interesting you? It's fine if you don't know what you want to major in. It's totally all right. Most of the friends that I've made at college have in their second year either thought about or have actually changed their majors. All right. I've seen people go from arts to science. I've seen people go from history to medicine. It's very, very flexible. It's okay. You don't have to decide immediately. But you do need to decide what are your core values, right? Why am I deciding to go abroad? What is it that college is offering to me that I cannot find here? And the answer is usually much more than just they have a good professor. We have tons of brilliant professors in India as well, right? It's usually much more than that. So I think that is something that one needs to think about when going outside. And like I said, core values are really important. Are you looking for a college that maybe gives you more flexibility? Are you looking for a college that gives you more work experience? Are you looking for a college that's more research oriented? Those kind of things, they may be vague to think about, but they are your core values. And if you don't get the right kind of opportunities that you're looking for, or that you're at least trying to seek out, you might find yourself in a fix. I mean, I've had friends who wanted to do majors that they couldn't find at the college that they came to, and then they decided to transfer out, which in itself is a very long process, and it can be very stressful. So these are good things to kind of keep in mind. It's not like you can't change. There's always that benefit, you can always change. Like Najmu said, it doesn't matter, at least try. Go out there, put yourself out there. If you don't like it, quit. It's fine. It's not going to be wasted years. You're still going to learn a bunch of stuff. But it's good to think about, what kind of guides you? What is it that you want? Intentionality is important. Also, on the practical side of things, it's important because for most people, studying abroad is expensive. So, even though you're learning a ton of things, even just applying to colleges, and even if you get rejected by like 40 colleges or 20 colleges, you will still learn a lot while applying just because you're reflecting, right? But every application you send is a cost. Every time you take a flight is a cost. Every visa you apply for is a cost. So, these are big factors for a lot of families. So, intentionality can play a very, very major role. It can play a smaller role as well. So I think that would be my advice if, somebody's planning to apply abroad. The next part of your question was about Prati-Sandhi Foundation, I believe. So I actually started thinking about Prati-Sandhi when I was on my exchange. And it was a really weird kind of situation where I was sitting in class and they gave us this really long form. And I think it was like a national survey. And they were kind of asking students, when did they have their first sexual experience? What are the kind of different contraceptive methods do they know about? What is their knowledge about sexual health? And it was so weird to me that we were talking about these things in a school setting. It's like, is this okay? Like, are you allowed to ask me these questions? Can I choose not to answer? So, that kind of really stuck in my mind because I was thinking, why aren't we having these conversations with our adolescents? Because when I was growing up, a lot of, my friends would ask me to ask my mom questions because she was a gynecologist. So I kind of became like this middle person and they would call me and be like, hey, this is happening. Is this normal? And, why can't we ask our own parents or our own teachers these questions, And when I came back, I really wanted to create like a platform where students could ask each other these questions and they could get answers from reliable sources and they could get medically accurate answers without feeling like, oh my God, 20 people are going to judge me. And that's why even at the heart of Prati-Sandhi is really peer education. We want students to learn from other students because, they can relate to one another. They feel like they're not being judged and they feel like they're talking to someone who's been through the same things. I remember when I was in school, we had this workshop on menstruation. And, it was this really sweet, lovely doctor who came to take the session, but no one wanted to ask her a question because she was about 60, 65 years old. Everyone felt a little awkward, like, will she be able to understand? And especially when you're asking, somewhat more taboo questions, things like, period sex, then kids are suddenly like, I'm not even old enough to be asking this stuff. And that's where you kind of kill curiosity as well. And when you try to suppress these questions, people have them even more. And then they seek them from sources that may not be accurate. They might give them the wrong information. I've interviewed so many doctors who've talked about adolescents trying to have abortions at home, trying all kinds of things because they're afraid to tell their parents. It's one of the most common questions that's asked. So, why not create a space where people can come together? And and I think this is a problem that's common not just to a rural audience. I mean, even though, the issues are much more significant there, but they're also very different. But it also applies to an urban audience. It's just as lacking in educational institutions, in private universities, in private schools, as it is in, say, primary healthcare centers in villages or in government schools. So, same solution, very, very different kinds of manifestations. So yeah, that's kind of been the journey of Prati-Sandhi. I think it's been about 2 years now that I've been working with my team, and we've been lucky enough to have good support. We've had obviously negative backlash as well, just because of the kind of work we do, but by and large, it's been quite positive. So I'm quite happy about that. So yeah.
Thank you so much. And these were some really good points that we got to know, and we really appreciate the kind of work that you're doing. And it's something something out of the box thing, and which really not many people are into, especially in the kind of society that we live in, right? Be it any part of the country. So thank you so much for your insights. My next question to you, Vasudev. As Nishita introduced and told that you are into so many things. You are like co-founder of the Silaigram. You have been doing a lot during the lockdown as well. So I mean, like to set up your own social enterprise, there's a lot of hard work involved. You need a lot of support from various organizations and various partnerships that you need to develop, right? So how did you get that? Like when did it all start? How did it all start? And we would also like to know that like I mean, how did you manage to get so much support and from support from various organizations? And do you think that this kind of a career option is actually worth choosing for?
Thank you, Deepak. I guess there are two parts for what I do. What we have asked at the first part of the question. So there are two perspectives. One is the purpose. Second is the opportunity. So I'll start from. So we started 2 years back. If I have to talk about Silaigram, my social enterprise, I started in 2018 August. This was something which I wanted to do many years back when I got back from exchange. I did my schooling from a very small town. It's called Pulgaon. That's my hometown. That's where my parents live. After schooling, I went on my exchange, went to Missouri, United States, lived there for a year with a family of, I had 4 siblings, very great experience there. Coming back here, got a perspective that I have to look from a broader perspective if I really have to work in the social area. But learning something which I call now community service from my hosts, family, even the experience that I got. So I started working with social organizations when I was in my 11th grade. 2 years worked with social organizations, with NGOs, youth groups where people were doing work in child education and whatnot. But it all changed in 2018. I went back to my hometown for it was holiday season. Went there, had a talk with my mom. One of our neighbors, very near to us, she has been saving money due to her. So this is very normal that in the rural parts or any parts of our country now, that poverty is something which we cannot ignore. Uh, and to give a detailed perspective, you just have to see the conditions. So people are saving money for taking their children to hospitals, be staying hungry for 3 4 days, 5 days. Similar situation was happening in my neighborhood. When I had a talk with my mom, she said this is very normal in our neighborhood. Being grown up from that area, I did not know this side of the story. I was a kid going to school, coming back. I did my schooling from St. John High School. Very proud that uh, some of our students are now alumni for AFS now. They also went on KLS program. So coming from that community, getting so much to learn from it. So I felt that responsibility to give back. And so to just empathize with that situation, can I stay hungry for a day? I tried doing it, and I did not. I could not do it. Uh, by the time in the evening, I was feeling very faint, and this is something which I felt when I put my feet in someone else's shoes. And I says that was one of the purpose for which I do now. That if I have to create or if I have to give a solution to this problem, there has to be something sustainable. So I had a talk with my mom. She has been my inspiration for such things since from my childhood. and she has been running a training institute at our place for stitching, for various vocational courses since last 10-15 years now. Taking her experience into account, we started Silaigram from 5 ladies in our neighborhood. It was very tough for us to take such decision for how hard it is to provide livelihood for 5 people around you. And it started to take shape. In within 3 months, we started to get order. Recently, in our state, the state government banned plastics, so we started making cloth bags. Was the least something which we could do while we were starting, because we knew there was one common skills that all of the ladies have is stitching. So it started there. Within 6 months, we grew from 5 ladies to 15 ladies. One of the biggest challenges what I had was not money, not opportunities. It was something which we were something. The challenge was community. We were bringing something new where women were coming out of their homes after doing their chores to work and going home around 6-7 o'clock at night was something a big challenge even for their families, because they had to answer. There was something which was happening new, and it is very hard to go against or go along with the mindset of your community. So it took us around 6 more months to work out with the people, with their families, that please allow them to work with us. This is something which is new. It took us 1 year. In 2019, when our team grew from 15 ladies to 25 ladies, uh, uh, we started upcycling. This is something which I call using the waste fabric coming out of factories and garment industries to make something new out of it and bring it into the market. And so initially we used to do upcycling in 50 to 100 kgs a month. It all went till 100 kgs to now we upcycle around 1 ton of fabric a month. All thanks to my team, which is now well trained to how to make something good out of the waste. So talking about the first part of the question, that was something which I call empathy as well as the purpose I work for. Uh, from a career point of view, it is all up to the person. So if I take my example, I had that courage to do something like this because after coming back from exchange, I saw a lot of opportunities. I was in a college, I was preparing for medical, but then I felt this is not my cup of tea. So then I felt uh, I'll go for entrepreneurship. I started a company called Procohat Technologies along with my partner. He's my co-founder now. We work in technological services. Taking experience from that background, I started to learn and explore the uh, area of entrepreneurship, what entrepreneurship exactly meant. Uh, and then I realized that this is not a game of skills, or this is not a game of just about what do you know. It is about how much you are competent about, how much competencies you can explore in yourself to work on those issues. And taking that insight from the running business, I took that risk and I said, I will do something for my community. So in 2018, I started Silaigram. Now we are at a phase. We're currently having 4 centers, but currently one operational due to lockdown. We are upcycling 1 to 1.5 tons of fabric a month. We're working with a lot of NGOs. We are working with our partners who are helping us to run this social enterprise. Um, why this as a career? I guess this gives me satisfaction. And talking about Najmu Bhai's, what he said about entrepreneurship and how you can deal with your choices. I completely second that thought. Yes, if you really want to do something, get on to something. And I did not even had a second thought that should I do it or not. I just start doing it. And now it's been now our third running year. We are still sustaining the project, and every day is something new for us. Every day we get to hear a lot of new stories from women, from our clients, and always social entrepreneurship, something which I started working on was something very new for me, even in my community. We never thought that a for-profit social impact startup can work out like this. And such concept which got introduced to me in that time was something very new. It was very hard for me to gain access to partnerships. That is the second part. Like, how did I get the partnerships? So it is all about our strategies, what we make. So for me, pitching for something about my business was number one, impact. Second, our best practices, which were ethical as well as eco-friendly. Third, the stories that we create for what we do every day at Silaigram. So we focused on the impact. We focused on the people who were working with us. Then the later part, what we were making, that was one of our business proposition. But uh, uh, from that perspective, I've got a lot of networking support from in our community in Nagpur. A lot of people supported us. One of the deco houses, I'll take their name, Malik Deco Houses. They started to support us by giving their waste fabric to us for free, for creating an impact by their waste. That was our strategy for partnerships. That if you provide your waste, we'll make some impact out of that waste instead of giving us the funds. So that strategy worked out very well. Now we are working around with 4 different corporates as well as a lot of NGOs. Even in lockdown, I got an opportunity to being a founding member of a syndicate of 150 organizations. We call it Together We Can. From the day one of lockdown, we have been working in food distribution, migrant laborers, and now working in COVID support with the civic body here in the city. It has been a long journey since last 3 years. It has been a very, I guess, adventurous journey, I'll say, because taking such choices in your career, and now I'll call it as my career, is something very hard. But I will always encourage people who really want to do something, who really want to create change in their communities, in their local cities. I say this is something which you really want to think about. 1 in 10 currently, even if I take example of my peers, um, uh, people who are of my age in my community, there is only 1 in 10 people who really thinks about starting something of their own or doing something in social sector by starting something on their own. So I really encourage you should really do this because we need change makers. We need active young change makers in our society, because the power which I feel today and the power which I can have with people who are of my age with me can create a lot of impact. Even from starting with your communities, it can take to the whole nation. And I guess I hope this answers both part of the question, I guess. Uh, but uh, running a social enterprise is a challenge. But if I focus to the problem statement which I am working for, and to the point, if it's solving that problem, there is no point of looking back. There is only point of just going ahead and ahead with that solution.
Thank you so much, Vasudev. And we must appreciate that you have been working really hard on all these things, and you are creating a great impact in the society, and you are doing a fantastic job. And like, please continue doing this thing. So without wasting much time, and I would request the panelists to finally share their own mantra of of their own mantra of making a successful life. And I would request each of you to just take 30 seconds and please adhere to the timeline so that we can have some time for the question and answers later.
Right, should I start?
Anyone can start. Yeah.
All right. My mantra is that learn from everything that you're doing and don't regret anything, because anything that you do is a learning experience. That's all. Like, it's simple.
That's simple and actually great. Yeah.
I can go next if that's okay.
Sure, sure.
I think my mantra is taking it one step at a time. When you have something big in mind, whether it's college, whether it's a vision, whether it's a change you want to bring, it can seem very daunting. But I think it's just about starting and kind of breaking that bigger vision into small parts, and then just kind of overcoming one hurdle at a time. And I think once you cross those, when you look back, you'll see you've come a very, very long way. So that would be my mantra.
My mantra to what I do or what everyone should do is there is one addition which I'll add to the statement of trying is going beyond trying. There will be only two outcomes, either that will be successful or unsuccessful. And while you're trying, either you do it or you don't do it. So if you're really thinking about it, then just go for it. Then we'll look for the outcome, what it will come out. So instead of just trying, just go for trying and doing it at the same time. I guess that will fruit a lot of success to your life.
Thank you so much, all of you. And I think we hope that all these successful success mantra will definitely help our young minds to practice and move towards a path, move on a path towards success in their own lives. Thank you so much, everyone. We are now open for questions, Nishita.
All right, Nishita, are you there? Okay. All right. So we have a couple of questions. And the first one, and I would ask anyone to respond it from the panel. The first question is that passion plus effort, is that a career or a choice? Anyone who wants to answer that? If you put passion as well as effort together, will that become a career, or it's something, that will change, or it will become something that they want to pursue later on? Whoever wants to go for it, the platform is theirs.
Say, well, if you're putting passion and effort into something, you've already made a choice. But if that passion and effort becomes something, that's your career.
Okay. Thank you, Najmu. Vasudev?
I'll say passion and what you have for your choice. You should also love what you want to do. There is a Japanese concept called ikigai, and I'll put it in the chat box as well. And if you really want to do something, you should also find your ikigai with the same passion and purpose at the same time.
Thank you so much, Vasudev. Niyati, would you like to give it a try?
Yeah, no, I think I would just echo everyone's sentiments here. I think if you're putting in passion and if you're putting in effort, I don't see any reason why you can't convert something into a career, but it's really up to you where you want to go with it, what you want to do with it. I will maybe try to give a slightly maybe cynical perspective as well, that sometimes just because you're passionate and just because you're working hard does not necessarily mean you will be able to make maybe a financially secure career out of it, but that doesn't mean you won't learn from it. That doesn't mean you won't be able to apply those learning into whatever else you choose to do, if yeah, that is what you choose to do. But yeah, I don't see any reason why you can't, and it's really what you make of it and what you want to make of it. It's the vision that you have in mind. So yeah, I mean, that would be my answer.
Thank you, Niyati. That's very wonderful. I have another question from Deepak. So what are the major challenges faced by social entrepreneurs in 2020? Anything that resonates with you? Anything would you like to share on this? More of a challenges faced by social entrepreneurs.
Well, there is one, specifically if I talk about this year, it has been a challenging time for not just social entrepreneur, for any entrepreneur who really wants to start or who is into the starting of phase. Um, yes, we were working on one problem statement in our social enterprise. Now there are 6 more problem statements with us, which we also need to focus on. So the problems have increased. That is one of the challenges for us. Now our solution might not help to solve just one problem. That we need to put more innovation into it so that it can solve the real world today's problem, like such pandemic coming in. So it has not just affected employment, it has also affected a lot of people's health. Now a lot of people don't even have health care, so how we are even going to provide such thing with our enterprise? So there are problems, and when these problems have increased, or challenges, not our challenges but things like economical things, liquidity in the market, uh, uh, access to funds have become a huge challenge for us, and not just me, it has been for everyone now.
Thank you so much, Vasudev. I'd like to carry on what Vasudev added about innovation. Najmu, would you like to add anything on the challenges and how design thinking plays a role in overcoming these challenges as well?
Sure. So before this company, I was working for Vasudev Foundation that directly works with the Atal Innovation Mission and the government of India to support entrepreneurs in the country. And the biggest challenge that the foundation had been facing was that all of these social entrepreneurs could not get funding from the market because everyone's holding on to their money. There was no market at all for their products because people were not buying. And then the people who worked with them had healthcare issues, or the people who worked with them wanted to go back home. So it was challenging in all aspects, from finance, from HR, from investment. Um, but what we saw as an interesting opportunity was that a lot of these entrepreneurs were pivoting their businesses to be able to adapt to this new time. And that's where design thinking plays a role. That you go back to the drawing board and you think from scratch that, okay, this is the problem that I was solving. What are other ways to solve this problem? And brainstorm, be divergent. Like if I'm a company that makes chatbots, I could make a different machine itself, which is a robot that can talk to people. Like I can completely change the way my company works because it's solving the same problem. And then try to think from 3 perspectives, which is desirability, which is how much customers desire this; feasibility, how much is it going to cost to build this, and is it feasible in the market; and viability, is it going to be beneficial, or is it just going to be more costly than what people will pay for it? And then you can pivot to how can I solve this problem in a new way, in the new reality of the world right now.
Thank you so much, Najmu, for adding your perspective. Speaking of finding solutions and moving forward, I have this question for Niyati and Vasudev. What is the next phase or vision for both the initiatives that you're running, Silaigram as well as Prati-Sandhi?
All right, so I can go first if that's okay. So yeah, I think for us, once COVID hit, it was quite a bit of a challenge. We were really taking it 1 month at a time. We had like this yearly goal, and then the first month of lockdown, we were like, all right, it's just 1 month. Let's just figure out this 1 month, and then we'll navigate the rest. And then after 1 month, we were like, okay, this is not just 1 month. We need to figure out a long-term solution. And so, like Najmu said, you kind of have to go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, how can I reach students? How can I make this work? So, for example, we were working primarily with schools as far as an urban audience goes. And, it was a huge challenge getting through to schools. It was already a challenge because the topic we work in is already, very sensitive. There's a lot of taboo. There's a lot of stigma. So we launched kind of an independent long-term intervention program wherein now we're working with school students who want to sign up independently with, of course, the permission of their parents. And, we're kind of working with them over a period of 3 months and having these consistent conversations, kind of talking about other aspects as well, like mental health. A lot of these students are dealing with college stress. So, having these peer mentors who are talking not just about sexual health with them, but also about other aspects that are stressing them out right now. And that's been really great for our engagement. It's really helped us understand their challenges a lot better. And I think only when you understand somebody's challenges can you begin to help them. One place where we took a hit really was working with rural audiences, because we're all volunteer based. So we didn't want to send any students out in the field, put them at risk. So that's something that we're still navigating. We have now started partnering with more organizations that are able to work on ground, that are bigger than us. And, kind of create like this one mediator who we can connect our information through, train their trainers who can go on ground. So yeah, we've kind of been trying to figure out how we can do that. And I think in the future, we're currently thinking about working on a portal wherein people can access information about sexual well-being. It's kind of like a one-stop shop. So I think that is something that's really exciting and we have in store. So yeah.
Thank you, Niyati. That's wonderful. We look forward to hearing more about the initiative and how you are going to the next stage as well. Vasudev.
For me, next phase for Silaigram or such initiative is now creating a template or creating a model for other social organizations to replicate or model. Um, we want to create a value chain. This will create a big chain of more change makers in other communities to solve problems. After this pandemic, I guess biggest challenge in our country or even in the South Asia will be employment or livelihood, I'll say. And for livelihood, it's not just one job giver, it has to be a whole chain of job givers needs to be here, who needs to practice ethically and who needs to chain up for providing livelihood in our country. So now it is up to us to how we provide solution, or how do we provide solution to job givers, how conveniently they can create this value chain and impact not just the community, also the economy.
Thank you so much, Vasudev. I have a follow-up question, and I think it's very important to highlight this question as well. So one of the students have asked that, are there any specific skills or life skills that are needed to become a social entrepreneur or a change maker like Vasudev, Niyati, and Najmu? Any kind of things that you recommend or something they need to excel in, and how they should be able to do it?
Want me to go first?
Sure.
I believe skill is something which a person can achieve or master, but person can also forget as well. Instead of keeping skills at primary basis, you should work on your competencies. I guess everyone is competent to be an entrepreneur. It is just to that person, he needs to explore those competencies in himself or herself to become one, and then work on the skills by practicing those competencies in daily lives. For example, you can start with goal setting. Setting proper articulative goals is something should be a competency in a person to start with.
I would
Thank
actually
you.
echo
Niyati,
that. Actually, yeah. No, I was just thinking that especially talking about goal setting, I think that that's really important. I personally, for me, like the most important skill that I've really worked hard on over the past few years has been organizing myself, organizing my thoughts, and time management. It's really challenging when you're doing a number of things, and just being able to kind of keep track and keep tabs of what you're doing, where you're going, what is your to do, whether that is daily, whether that is weekly, whether that's monthly. I personally do all three. And I think that that can really help somebody, because it's so easy to fall into the trap of like procrastinating. And once you start procrastinating, it's just like this endless cycle wherein you're kind of constantly chasing yourself to make things happen. So I think that time management would really be something that I would stress on. It can be whatever that works for you. Like for me, it helps to have like a planner in front of me and to be able to write these things down. For somebody, it could be a Google Calendar. For somebody, it could be somebody that works with them and they have kind of like a buddy system. It really depends what works for you. But I think that that's something that's really important, being able to organize yourself, especially when you're just starting out, because it's possible, especially as a student, that it's probably not the only thing you're doing. You might have college, you might have other commitments, you've got family, you've got a ton of things to take care of. So I think that is something that I would really focus on.
All right, so I'm just going to copy that and make sure that I implement in our life as well. And I'm sure Nishita will agree with me that having a calendar does help. To you, Najmu, anything you'd like to add? Any kind of specific skills that the student should work on or focus towards, getting that so that they can become a better change maker?
I will talk in terms of our new reality, our new normal in the COVID world, because I think a lot of things have changed, and our new normal is not going to be what used to be. You will see a lot of people working from home. You'll see a lot of people working with more multicultural teams. Because what has started happening is a change that you'll see global companies like Shopify and Facebook. There are so many other companies who have said that they're going to go completely work from home, completely global. And that is allowing them to hire people from all types of countries and cultures. The problem that they are facing, though, is that they're hiring people from different places, but it's hard for them to, you know, get these people to work together because they come from different cultures, they come from different understandings. And as an AFSR, it's easier for us because we have lived in that world, we have learned those skills. But I think a lot of people don't have those skills, and that's why having these intercultural skills of how do I work with an American, how do I work with a German person, how do I not offend a Japanese person, how do I get work done through a Latvian person. Like, these skills are 90% important for you to get your work done. The 10% of the skills you can still learn. Those are skills you can pick up. So that's why, like, even AFS has this course called the Global Competence Certificate, which allows people to learn how to work with different kinds of cultures, how to work with different kinds of people, and how to empathize with them. I think that's the most important skill that we need, at least in the new normal of the COVID world.
Thank you so much, Najmu. Can you elaborate a little bit on what is covered in Global Competence Certificate so that the participants know that how it could be a learning experience for them as well?
Sure. So I am one of the trainers for the Global Competence Certificates. I can elaborate a little bit on like what the Global Competence Certificate includes. So it includes things like, what are different culture dimensions? So, how do you understand if a culture is more individualistic or they're more collectivist, if a culture likes to be more restrained or they like to be more indulgent, right? They have high power distance, low power distance. These are all concepts from intercultural learning. It also includes things like how do different cultural people in different cultures do conflict management. So if you have a conflict in your office, some people will not like to talk to you, but they will be pissed with you. Whereas some people will be very open and you'll think that person is rude, but that's how their culture reacts. There are communication styles, how they like to communicate so that you don't misunderstand them. Uh, there are things like, power and privilege. So, different people come from different backgrounds and they might not have had the same privilege as you, and you might misjudge them for how they talk or how they walk or how they interact with you. And then you need to understand what background they come from so that you are able to be, empathizing with them. So these are just few concepts that are covered there. But then there are a lot of things, and especially because it's an experiential style of learning. So you also talk with, like, I've seen the people from different countries talking to each other on the forum and trying to understand from each other. So it actually gets the discussion and the conversation going. Then you learn a lot more just by talking to people.
Thank you, Najmu. We will be sharing the information about the programs via email to all the attendees. We cannot take all the questions, but here's my last question from all of you. To all of you, Aditi asks that what is most important to bring a change? And the second part of her question is what failures you all faced in the beginning phase of these programs or the initiatives which you started? It's a very good question, Aditi, and I will let Niyati start with the answer.
I completely agree that that's a great question. I think what's most important to bring a change really is just the willingness to bring a change, right? Like, what does bringing a change really mean to you, right? Does it mean you want to reach 100 people? Because quite frankly, you can bring a change just by interacting with one person as well, right? And that's how kind of, word spreads. That's how we all learn from one another. So I think that's really important to keep in mind. As long as you're willing to bring a positive change, there's no reason why you can't do it, right? Obviously, there's a lot more factors involved when you're trying to say a change at a like mass level where you're trying to say reach thousands of people. There's a number of factors maybe, but there's still no reason why you can't do it if you have the willingness. But yeah, I think just the passion and the drive, as long as the thought is there and as long as you're willing to convert it into action, there's no reason you can't do it. And I think as for the second part of the question, I mean, we had lots of failures when we started. Like, I have absolutely no regrets about that. Like Najmu also said, you learn something from everything. When we started out, I had no idea how to run an NGO. I had no idea how to work with volunteers. I had, it was such a struggle working with a large team. We are still, there's still challenges about funding, trying to go on ground. You'll always have challenges and you'll always have failures. You won't only have failures when you just start out. You'll constantly have failures and you'll constantly learn from them. One thing that I'm really happy about is, if I had maybe known all of these lessons when I started out, I might have done things in like a set template way. Like, hey, this is how things are done in other organizations. So this is how we're going to do it. And this is what I've learned. By being able to go out there and by being able to figure it out without having the knowledge, allowed me to kind of learn a lot more. It allowed me to figure out the rules for myself and figure out what works for my organization, what works for my industry, what works for the people that I'm working with. So yeah, I think that that's really important to keep in mind. We had tons of failures. We learned from them. We restructured things. We had to refigure out things. We still have lots of disappointments. Obviously, a lot of them are a lot more technical. Like, for example, if you're working with volunteers, I'd never worked with a volunteer team before. And initially, my volunteer team got really frustrated with me because I seemed to be too work oriented. All of our interactions were just like, hey, guys, we need to get this done and we need to get that done. And they were all just like, this is not fun anymore. And so I realized that, hey, like, it's my responsibility to make it fun as well, which I had not thought about. So, and then we kind of started working on that and we started working on engagement and creating a positive culture. So yeah, you learn these things. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Niyati. That's wonderful. Failures and disappointments, they are part of the journey, and we completely agree with it. And I'm sure Vasudev has something important to add to that as well.
Why? I'll add to just what Niyati said. Something which also can be done is, while creating a change, you also need empathy, and that is a skill to practice in every part of your project or every part of the change that you wish to bring into your surroundings. So if you have a proper solution to a problem which can create a positive change, you need to have empathy to realize how deep that solution is going to impact the people, right? And that can only happen when you see from those people's perspective how that impact is going to change. And the second part, and yes, we also faced a lot of failures. I'll say challenges where we were not able to uh, run up to the benchmarks that we have set for, let's say, for 6 months or a year. But initially, it was a learning process for us, and still it is a learning process for us. Even I never understood how to run a for-profit social impact company. I was only working with NGOs, and coming into for-profit was something which was a new science for me, I'll say. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it from my side.
Thank you, Vasudev. And I really, really appreciate that you keep talking about empathy and how it plays an important role to become a change maker. And I really appreciate that, you keep talking about how the youth right now, they need to be more empathetic, because we feel like that's something that's lacking in all of us. And the day we can realize that, we understand what others are feeling, I think that will help us improve and do more. Thank you so much for talking about that. I would also like to highlight a little bit about Deepak's initiative. He also runs an NGO. So Deepak, do you have anything to add on failures and the learning experiences we can get from it?
Thank you so much, Adil. Yes, I would add on to what Vasudev and what Niyati said. Challenges and failures are definitely a part of anything that you start up, anything that you start off, and like we had a when we started, and I mean, challenges that we faced was bringing in more and more volunteers. So just answering to the first part of the question, that why, like what motivates us, and what is important. Of course, empathy is important, and it is basically the passion to do something. If you have a passion to do something for the society, and it is and more importantly, the I mean, the belongingness, that if you feel that you belong to this society and this society belongs to you, then only will you be able to take a step out of your comfort zone, and then you will be able to go in the field and work for that particular thing and to bring about a change. So I mean, having a uh, a willingness to do something, of course, but at the same time, a feeling of like the feeling of having a uh, of the ownness of the society, that this you belong, the belongingness to the society is very important. And failures, of course, we also have faced different challenges. Like there was one point that when our NGO had there were no volunteers because of people moving to different cities, people shifting, because we started with students, and then after they graduated and everything, we were we had almost no team, and then we again had to contact people, go build the team up, explain them what our vision is, what we want to do. So explaining people as to what we are doing, why we are doing, and how it will impact the society, and how it will be beneficial for them. Because anybody who wants to join you as a volunteer, and of course, Niyati very rightly said that being working with volunteers is a challenging part. So anybody who wants to join you as a volunteer, he would want to know what benefit he or she is getting after working with you. So we need to explain them. So these are the challenges that we do face, and even if somebody is starting it new will face.
Thank you, Deepak. That's wonderful. And one thing I can highlight from everyone's conversation is that you need to be very passionate about the work you are doing, and you need to be passionate about the cause you're working for, and you can find the place or the belongingness, in each of the cause that you're working for. So that's very important: empathy, belongingness, and the motive to do more, or helping the community. With that, Najmu, I will give you 1 minute to close this question if you have anything you want to add, and then I will give it to Deepak to give a closure note, and finally to Nishita.
Sure, I'll just quickly add. I think two more important things for becoming a change maker is one, knowing what your intent is. Uh, that are you really intending to create change, or are you just doing this because it's for the money? And there's nothing bad for doing something for money. It's just that you need to know what you're doing it for. Don't be dishonest with yourself, and also being intellectually honest about uh, whatever you're doing, is that really going to create an impact? Because someone might say that, hey, do this or do A or do B or go raise funding, but you know, just because someone said it, it might not be the right thing for you, because everyone's journey is different. So actually question yourself, reflect on it, try to analyze things yourself, and be intellectually honest with yourself that everything is doing. If that means that it's going to create an impact, to it. If you're not sure, still do it, but at least spend some time reflecting on what you're going to do. So
Thank you so much, Najmu. And I would like to thank all the participants, and as well as the panelists. And I'm sure your experiences and the kind of work that you are doing, and the things that you have shared with our young brains, I think it will be very helpful, and I'm sure they will implement in their own lives and in their own local communities. And these ideas will definitely help them become a great change makers of the society. So yes, it was impactful. Thank you so much. Over to you, Nishita.
I just have thank yous to give. One final thank you to everyone for being there, for the wonderful interaction, meaningful interaction. To all the attendees, look forward to your inboxes tomorrow. We will be sending across the details. Have a good evening, and thank you so much to the panelists and Deepak for joining us today. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.